Hi, my name is Samuel, but you can call me Sam. I've been working the last couple of months as a web developer, and I recently had a decent raise. This will allow me to finally move out of my parents' house, in which the situation is just unbearable. However, it was difficult to find a house or apartment that didn't leave me drowned in debt. But suddenly, there was one that happened like it was just for me. A decent house, 2 floors and a backyard, for only $3,000. Yeah, this was a total fake or someone was pulling a prank, but I decided to give it a try. I was expecting some guy to answer the phone, giving the direction of the house in which we'd meet, and then just to find out it was a prank or something. Or maybe it was a scam and I was going to be robbed. But a woman answered the phone. I'll refer to her as Alex. I asked about the house I found on the webpage. She just gave me an address to go and talk about the house, said something about meeting me in person. I thought it was just a person selling their grandmother's house or something. Those people get kind of special about a place like that. Anyway, we agreed to meet at 3 p.m. Obviously, I checked the direction on Google Maps and found out it was an office building. The next day I took a bus to her office. It took me about 15 minutes to get there. As soon as I arrived, the guard told me where her office was. She received me and asked if I wanted something to drink, which I refused. I sat across her desk. Then she started asking questions about me, my work, family, etc. After a moment of silence, she sighed. Look, Sam, you're a good kid, but this house is not made for a person like you. I suggest you save your money and buy another house. What's the problem with this one? I asked. Well, it's what people would call a problematic house. By law, I'm forced to tell you what happened there, but it'll be better if I show you. She opened the drawer and took out a big folder, put it on the desk and slid it over to me. I opened it. Inside were documented police reports. Murders, missing people, and drug dealers were only the first 3 pages. Meanwhile, as I read the file, she started talking. The reason this is so cheap, it's because I just want to get rid of the place. I hope to call the attention of mobs or drug dealers just to use the place for money laundering. I can't even sell the house to any company for demolishing or building. It happens to be an antique house, so the government forbade me to do that. I won't stop you from buying it. I lost too many years of my life with that problem. If you want it after looking at that folder, that's entirely up to you. That really left me with a bad feeling. But the idea of spending another year with my parents was the only thing I needed to make the decision. So I accepted. For the next 2 weeks, we did all the paperwork and agreed to meet at the house. Alex refused to let me in before I signed. She told me that once I entered, that it was my problem. Finally, the day arrived. I met her at the house. She was sitting on the porch drinking a cup of coffee. Well, Sam, here you have it. She extended me a folder. Here are all the documents that state that this is now your property. Oh yeah, and the keys. Thank you, I replied. Guess I just need to buy some furniture now. About that, most of the previous owners didn't change out the old furniture, so most of it's still in pretty good shape. But if you don't like anything, just throw the ones that aren't listed in the documents. She said goodbye and walked away, and I rushed to the door. Before I could stick the key into the locket, she screamed to me, "Oh, and you should sign one document in the folder." The inside of the house was dirty, years of accumulating dust in a very bad state, but the furniture was as good as new, just like Alex said. On the left side was the living room, with a large sofa and 2 single chairs around a table in front of the fireplace. Across was the dining room, a large 12-seat piece of wood with candlesticks. On the right side was the kitchen. It was big enough to have 10 people working on it at once. I sat down in one of the chairs in the living room. It was covered with a piece of cloth. Then, opened the folder and let the documents fall on the table. I quickly spotted the one she told me to sign. It was an old piece of paper, like the ones you see in old Western movies when the character has to sign a contract. I signed above the bottom line with my name on it. Below, under everything, there was an old folded piece of paper. I'll transcript what I remember. Greetings. If you are reading this, it's because you are the new owner of the property. I'm sorry to tell you that this is not a welcome letter to tell you how great your life is going to be at this house. It is a guide to keep you alive in this place. This is a formality between the owners of this house. If you decide to sell it after handing this paper to the next owner, there are some rules you need to follow. The consequences of breaking these rules are high, but I assure you that if you follow them, then there's nothing to worry about. Rule number 1, the butler and the dog. This is more of a presentation than a rule. In the living room, you should find a silver bell. Ringing it will call the butler of the house. Refer to him as Mr. Bach. He will do anything you ask as long as it is related to house maintenance. He will not ask for any money. However, he might request an object every other month. Give it to him. Nothing bad will happen if you don't, but he will not attend your call again after that. On the other hand, the canine is a Saint Bernard. You may give it any name you want. Whisper and he will come to you. It is important that these two entities do not go along, and if I do get to choose which one, I'd choose the canine. Rule number 2, the guests. There is a chance that an unexpected guest may come to the house. You can open the door and talk to them. However, just let the ones pass that you expect to visit. If you break this rule, go out of the house and never return. Now it is under their control. Sometimes, you might find them already inside the house. You can also engage in conversation with them. If you want to end the talk, or if they just stare at you without blinking for more than a minute, call Mr. Bach and tell him that the guest may leave the house. Let him handle it and do not look. It can be disgusting. Rule number 3, the stairs. It takes 12 steps to get to the 2nd floor. Keep that number in mind. If you count 14, keep going normally until 20, and then the 21st will be the 2nd floor. However, if you do not reach it at that one, run. We have not to know the first person who can tell us what happened if that catches you. All we know is that it devours them. After 50 steps, you will find the 2nd floor. Keep running through the hall and do not enter or look into the rooms. Jump at the end through the window. Rule number 4, the bathroom. It is in front of the main bedroom on the 2nd floor. The one on the 1st floor is safe. Knock on the door every time you want to enter the room. If a lady named Madeline answers, wait 5 minutes and then enter normally. But if any male voice answers, call Mr. Bach. If no one answers, you may enter. Check the water in the sink. If the color is normal, do what you need. If red, break the mirror and open a little cut in your hand, then put it under the stream until it runs clear. If 1 minute passes and it's still red, leave the room and wait 1 hour and try again. If green, fill up the bathtub, immerse yourself completely and wait until it empties. Then you may proceed. Rule number 5, the basement. If any of your belongings are lost, you will find them in the basement. Do not go alone and without any light source. Call the dog. Once there, you will find a great dark spot on one of the walls. Order the dog to search your item in the dark and wait for him. If any other dog comes out, kill it immediately. If the canine does not come back in 5 minutes, go out of the basement and try again the next day. Do not worry about the dog. Rule number 6, the study room. The study room is the first door after the stairs on the second floor. Inside you will find a great library. Enjoy any book of your choice or use it as a workspace. If any of the books fall off of the shelf on its own, take it and read it until it closes by itself. Then put it back on the shelf. Do not refuse to read it. That it will take as an offense. Also, wear a watch with the current time and check the clock in the house to make sure your times match. Don't leave if they do not match. Rule number 7, the backyard. After 5 p.m., there is nothing happening in the backyard. You did not hear anything coming from the backyard. Rule number 8, the main bedroom. This is the only safe place on the second floor. Do not be outside of this room from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. If you happen to be outside, I hope they do not find you. Sleep with the dog if that helps. Rule number 9, the house. As long as your expected guests are on the first floor, they will not be in any danger at all. But get used to the fact that they forget about the dog or the butler. And last but not least, do not leave the house for more than a month. Sincerely, Arthur V. December of 1809. I read over these stories for some time, and I thought Alex did too, and she was just trying to make fun of me. This made me laugh and kept me entertained for some minutes. Anyway, I decided to explore the second floor to see what was there. It was great to have a new house. While going up, I took my phone and opened a chat with my best friend. We needed to throw a party. I was so distracted that it took me a few seconds to notice that I was supposed to reach the second floor some steps before. Then I felt it. The coldest breath at my nape. The walls started to rot, and I ran in a panic. I could hear how that thing was coming for me, how it knew that each step was more difficult than the other. After a minute of going up, I finally reached the second floor and kept running. My first thought was to enter a room, so I stopped at the first one on the left. The door was open. Inside was a man tied to an electric chair. He asked for help, but suddenly, the chair turned on, so I ran away. Those screams were not from any human. I felt like the hall was longer than normal, but when I finally reached the window, I jumped through it without thinking. For about 5 minutes, I fell through a void, where the sounds all faded away. Then I landed on the couch of the first floor. In a panic, I took the keys and left the house and ran home. Now I'm in my room at my parents' house. I tried to call Alex, but she didn't answer. Guys, I don't know what to do.